Hey everybody, it is Tim with Tabletop Terrors, and I'm coming at you live with Daily Damage. If you're watching this on Facebook, thank you for tuning in live and streaming. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is a nearly every weekday live stream we do from our Facebook page. While the stream shares, I always like to do something I call the rundown. The rundown is just the basics of what you should be doing this week, what we're up to, and some things you can check out. The first thing, we've had an overwhelming response to 5 Crit Friday. And you're probably like, Tim, you asked us to sign up for this e-newsletter. I do it, and then you stiff me, brah. There's nothing in my inbox. Well, on Friday, we didn't really have power. The hurricane was here in Florida. So I'm sorry. There was no 5 Crit Friday because we were in a hurricane. So there will be one this Friday. So thank you for signing up, and everyone has done an awesome job of just boom, it's been crazy. I love you all. You're amazing. The second thing that you need to check out is the Twists of Fate. This is for the PROVOKERS. Matt Click at A Fistful of Dice allows everyone in the community to chime in and have a part in the games. So he's doing these incredible, it's basically a Google survey, like a Google form, where you get to go in and vote on small pieces of what's going to happen. Now, we have a session this coming Sunday. So you have to go to the Fistful of Dice Facebook page, and you have to check out the Twists of Fate for the PROVOKERS Bleak Wrath Session 2. Can't wait. It's going to be a TPK. I don't know what that means, but I was reading it on some D&D forums, and I think it's really cool. The final thing I want to give you in the rundown is the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. If you like... I was going to make a joke, but it's too inappropriate. If you like just conversing with other gamers, if you like having a good time, sharing your ideas in a positive place, there are a lot of great communities out there, but my favorite is the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group. And I will put, probably up here, one of those speech bubbles. I don't know, maybe I'll do here. Maybe I'll do both. I don't know. But I'm going to put one of those speech bubbles where you can, when I put this on YouTube, search Absolute Tabletop on Facebook. And it's the official group. You can join in there. Just a lot of positive people, always sharing ideas for games, getting feedback, giving feedback. It's an amazing community. So that is the rundown. Now, on to the meat of this. I certainly clickbaited everybody, but it's for a reason, and it will pay off. I'm going to talk about exactly what I said I was going to talk about. One of the most, I would say, polarizing topics is politics. There was a Hillary and Trump debate very recently, and a lot of people are talking about it. Here's the thing. This isn't going to be about real politics. This isn't going to be about what I think, because frankly, you shouldn't care what I think. The bottom line is, do your own research, figure out what you believe, and go to town, vote, that's all you. What this is really about is I get questions all the time. And the question is, what should my character's motivation be? Or, I have a villain, but what should his plot be? Or, I need something to inject into my campaign. I don't really know what to throw at the players. Throw this at the players. If you look around, turn on any news channel, go to any website, and you can just pick ripe, juicy comments to put right in your campaign. You want something going on in your campaign world, in your game, you immediately have a polarizing election. Why does it have to be a king and a queen, a king or a queen? We do not have to have monarchies in every medieval society. Make it something, some form of a republic, a democracy, something different. And inject this, make the campaign happen in the middle of an election. And guess what? You can take all of these things and you can thinly veil them and put them into the real world. You can absolutely use this. And the interesting thing is that it immediately gives the players just these fat, juicy steaks, or like hearty carrots if you're vegetarian, that they can just bite right into because it immediately makes them choose what their character believes in. So Yes, this is about Hillary and Trump, but in the periphery, and it is RPG related. Take these themes, this concept, and plug it into your campaign world. Do this right away because, like I said, these characters will start forming opinions, and their opinion on immigration is going to say a lot about the character. It might even have you ask questions about your homeland and all these other things. What if you're an immigrant? Things like that. So, let us visit the chat. A lot of people here. Sean DeGaiso is here. Chris Wilhelm is here. Rob Coletta, Drake Warren. Chris Wilhelm says, no excuses, Tim. I'm sure he's talking about the the 5 Crit Friday. Yeah, I almost had a real 5 Crit Friday, Chris. It was almost real. Rob Coletta says, timpani, the big drum. Yes, I'm familiar. Jeremy Lilly joined. Drake Warren says, pish posh. Mike Lasham joined. What's up, Mike? Mike the Piper. You have to go check out his YouTube channel. He's the news provoker. It took me a little while to find, because if you just search Mike space the space Piper, it's a different dude. His is first name Mike, last name the Piper, all one word. He's got some great Star Wars campaigns on there. He just started running a Numenera campaign, and he's got some wicked good accent videos. So check out Mike Lasham. He is just a super nice guy and a great role player, and you should subscribe to his channel. Jonathan Lutzer says, good afternoon. Showing to guys who says, hey, don't apologize. People can wait an extra week for some awesome content. Thanks, man. I love 5 Crit Friday because it's basically, hey, here's what inspired me this week. And it can be anything. And so James and I compile this list. We go back and forth, make sure there's no duplicates. And it's like, hey, what about this? What have you been using? And it can be anything from music to art to an RPG supplement to different things. But it's a cool injection of inspiration on a Friday when you're probably not working anyway and you need some stuff to click around at work. So we usually try to send it about 1 p.m., right about the time you all check out and go on autopilot till the weekend. So it's perfect. Sam DiMercurio joined. What's up, man? Jeremy Lilly says, oh, look, it's a Tim in the wild. Michael Lasham says, oh, man, we're in trouble. Yes, we are. Locrius Dio Tenalp joined. I'm also in a game with Locrius. I don't want to spoil what his character is if you haven't seen the first session of the Lore Keepers. But check out Performance Check. That's Rob Coletta's channel, and we're running the Lore Keepers game. We're actually working hard to get, I almost said Season 2. We're working hard to get Session 2 scheduled, and I'm really excited to dig more into that. Locrius plays a killer character in that. Circo says, greetings, everyone. Jeremy Lilly. Yeah, Mike. He's been storing up for a whole week. It's true. I don't know if this is a typo or if he did this on purpose. It's Curse Jacknos? Sears Jacknos? It's not Chris, right? He says, support groups are great, but I think it is important to start writing your ideas before you discuss about them. Well, I'm not sure if you're talking about me in these streams. If you are, I'm sorry. That is certainly par for the course. This is a vlog. It's a video blog. It's a vlog. Mike Lasham says, I meant the game Sunday. Yes, I figured. Let's see here. Jack Pert joined. What's up? Jeremy Lilly says, I think everybody is in that camp. Matt Click is here. Awesome game master. I want to encourage you to check out something that Matt has sort of started doing again lately. Dude has been killing it with his DM Forge videos. He is, like, since his channel started, I think he's been doing these advice streams where he does Dungeon Master tips and tricks. But they're always bite-sized. Like, the longest one, I think, is like 7 minutes, and it's still worth every minute. But lately, he's just been pumping them out, and I've been devouring them. I'm like, oh, I need this. So check out, I mean, you're probably all already subscribed to A Fistful of Dice, let's be honest. But if you're not, check out the DM Forge on A Fistful of Dice. They're punchy, they're quick, and they're really good if you're prepping for a game. You have people coming over. Watch one of those about 30 minutes before people arrive and get it in your cortex. Circo says, polarizing topic. Sword control? So, funny you mentioned that, because I have purposefully made notes about this in Dragon Grin, about weapon control. If you're a Dark Lord trying to take over the realms, you would absolutely want to make sure that arms were not in the wrong people's hands. Now, again, polarizing topic. So take real-world stuff and put it in the game. Now, don't ham-fistedly preach at me through your game mastering, I won't play in that game. Don't try to sway me over to your real-world politics by, making my character do that. Make it a cool flavoring aspect. Give the world a sense of being alive by having things like this. If you enter a realm, it's like, hey, listen, we don't believe in the open carrying of weapons. You have to conceal them, or you're not allowed to conceal them. In Dragon Grin, we're playing with the idea that you are allowed in the neutral zone, basically where they let all the people still live, pseudo-enslaved, who aren't, part of the Dark Lord's army, and they're not one of the orcs, etc. You're allowed to open carry a weapon, but it's an invitation for anyone to attempt to slay you, basically. So the orcs, who also live in the neutral zone, they love it because they're not allowed to kill the people because they're the workers for the dismembered lord. So the idea is, yeah, you can carry a sword, but if I see a sword on your hip, we're throwing down, and I'm probably bigger, stronger, and more powerful than you, and I will kill you. So they thrive on seeing people carry swords. It is illegal in the neutral zone to conceal a weapon. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting take on that. Jeremy says, I think Tim might be Italian. Look at that hand go. Hey, I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New York Irish. I'm one of those Irish New Yorks. So I talk with my hands all day. Andre Martinez joined. Jacob Norman says, Mike is the Piper. Mike says, thanks, Tim. I'll get you money ASAP. Oh, I thought you already... Oh, that must have been a different Mike. Yeah, I would have never done that if I thought you already PayPal'd me the 8 drachmas. Locrius says, Rob Coletta is a frickin' genius. Lore keepers for life. And he spelled it like a champ. Jacob Norman says, I'm looking forward to the Lore Keepers. Rob is another killer DM from this community, and y'all got some killer players. I agree. Lloyd's character, I don't want to go into depth if you haven't really seen the first session, because it's the old layers thing where every character kind of starts one way, and as the game progresses, more layers are revealed, and I think it's a really good blend. And by the end, I think you see how these characters can work together and why they would make a really good dynamic cast if you're viewing, I think. Mike LaShawn says he seconds that. Oh, Chris Jackno says, no, it's Chris. I mean, it's important to start working your ideas before you start looking for criticism of your ideas. At least for me, I find it more productive. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, there's two phases here. There's look at my idea and give me your critique. That's what you're talking about, and I think that that's very important, because I think that sometimes an idea develops naturally as you write it, and you sort of edit yourself, and by the time it's finished, it's a little more solid so that you can actually judge it for yourself. Then there's something that we do at Absolute Tabletop, which is the RPG company that I'm a part founder of, and it's called spitballing. It's bouncing stuff off each other. It's bark storming. It's, hey, I got this crazy idea. What if all the elves in my world drove Kia Sorrentos? What do you think? And it's like a gut check, like what are your initial thoughts? My initial thoughts is that I think all the elves would probably drive Audis. So it makes sense to me. But that's the idea. So I think that you're exactly right. But it's okay to have a both and. It's okay for me to gut check James and go, hey, what do you think about X? And for him to kind of give me his thoughts. Now, I think I should still be diligent and go, you know what, I'm going to write it out anyway. Write it out, Google Doc with a couple paragraphs. Then I share that around and go, hey, what do you guys think of this fleshed out idea? So yeah, I think that is important. But I also am okay with my close friends, gut checking me with just spitballs. Just say, hey, what do you think of this? Chris Wilhelm says, in Japan, there was a huge issue with sword control. It was also a social class control thing. So there you go. That example of the real world issue, what I need to do is I need to do my homework. As a game master, what I need to do is I need to look up everything you're talking about, and then you just implant it in general, you put it right in your game. And what you can do is look through Wikipedia or whatever source you're going to use, a well-written article, and say, hey, this conflict arose. This person rose up. this thing, and then all of a sudden I'm reskinning these things for my campaign world. And guess what? You want to talk about some character motives and some easy plot hooks? You just look at what these people did in real life and how they responded and how they acted, and those can be major touch points that you put into the campaign. So Chris, that's brilliant. Rob Coletta says, "Aw guys, you're diamonds. Just wait until you learn more about these characters. Each one is as deep as Khazad-dûm itself." Yeah, man, I can't wait, Rob. Cannot wait. Michael Barker joined. Michael Barker is one of my favorite human beings. He got me into and really made me a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. And let me tell you that I have been, like, ravenous about it now. Now I'm, like, following. Like, this last Sunday was like a little vacation because we had a bye week. And so it was nice to be able to be like, okay, I don't have to be on pins and needles. This coming Sunday for the Provokers, if I'm not sure what time the game is. No, I'm not sure what time the Seahawks game is. I'm also not sure what time the Provokers game is. No, that's why God invented Google Events. But if you see, we're sitting there and we're playing, role playing, and then Barker and I go, then it's because the Seahawks won. If you see us go, it's because the Seahawks lost. The Mappernomicon, just in for a moment, out for an adventure. Good to see you. Great stuff, man. Thanks, the Mappernomicon. Check out the Mappernomicon. Didn't know you had a YouTube channel, but then, boom, dude does a Brigade Con countdown video, and I was like, this is one charismatic feller. Well-spoken, funny. He has the right level of fwost, which is a whole nother thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We call it fwost. It's non sequitur goofiness. But, yeah, check out the Mappernomicon as well. Jonathan Lutzer says, yeah, after the Takagawa clan ended the Warring States period in Japan, they collected all the swords in the nation to melt down and make into a huge religious statue. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. As opposed to using them to arm their army is what I think you mean. Think about that. So that's where the campaign starts. This is where the campaign starts. Don't make this an event that happened back in the day. Make this an event that's happening now. The army of the blue guys lost, right? So Stormwind, boom, they've been scattered. The orcs have won, let's say. The orcs take all the steel, all of it, and they're going to have a huge ceremony where they burn it all in this entire area. Where's the area? Make it somewhere that hurts. Make it a religious monument. Make it something that would be profane to those who are having their swords burned. And that's where the adventure starts. Your heroes begin as they watch their steel. No, worse. This also binds them together. It gives them a reason to be together. They're in charge. They're some of the ones who have been sort of enslaved and taken captive. They're in charge of burning the swords. So the people looking on are spitting at them and booing them and hissing at them. And these are former neighbors. They're former, I don't know if you want to make them, the regiment members in the army. I don't know what. These are people that they were once close with. And your heroes have to shovel the weapons into these fires just to be burned. And that's what they're all chained together. They're all chained together. And guess what? Inciting incident. Something crazy happens. And all of them are right next to weapons. What do? Boom! The chains get broken. Something happens. It'd be neat. Another war chief comes. Another orc war chief who is saying that this is not the old way. This is too, too clean. This is too forgiving. And he starts slaughtering the people. But the other orcs are like, whoa, these are our slaves. So they kind of start pushing back. And now you're in the middle of an orc civil war while these weapons burn in the middle. What do you do? Boom. So yeah, Jonathan, great comment. Jeremy Lilly. Man, since we had to miss our last session of White Lotus Black Jade this past weekend, all this gaming talk is giving me the itch. I hate when that happens. We just had to cancel our Dragon Grin game most recently because of the hurricane, but there were some other life things that some other folks had going on that obviously took precedence. So I know what you mean, though. I was like itching to play in that game, so I can't wait because I get Provokers on Sunday. Jonathan Letzer says, whoops, I meant to write arm their army. Yeah, I figured. Chris says, your videos on how to improve your writing productivity skill are great. Really practical advice. Thank you. You know, I think that what you guys don't see, I have the pleasure of being able to run most of this stuff by my brother James, who is essentially the gut check king. I'm like, hey, what about this? And he's like, no, that's stupid. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And then I'll be like sad for a day, and then the next day I'm like, dude, I don't know what I was thinking. I have too many energy drinks, but that is the dumbest idea. And he goes, yeah, I know. So I have that benefit of having that sounding board of James. James is the other half of Tabletop Terrors. Dude, the channel would be way worse if it was just me. Chris Wilhelm says, I feel you, Jeremy. I've been taking time off from GMing, but I want to get back into it. Probably going to use 5e. Dude, Chris, I can't wait to see what you do. Your games are always cool. This is funny, but I took the template from Chris Wilhelm's interest posts and used it as the basis for my interest posts for my online games. So, yeah. Jeremy Lilly says, I don't know why I keep going, Jeremy Lilly. Hey, Jeremy Lilly. It's so ridiculous that going 2 whole weeks without playing can do that. I know. Some people don't play but once a month. Locrius, the bass player and lead singer for the rock band Planetoid, who is a blue alien, look him up, says, blue guys never lose. So, Locrius, you're right. Blue guys never lose. Locrius, Rob Coletta says, blue guys are so OP. And I would invite you out to my table, Chris, if it wasn't already so damn full, says Jeremy Lilly. So, again, a little clickbaity, yes, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that this is a source of actual real-world conflict. This is, right now, one of the most polarizing topics in the country, and you can just grab these happenings, these goings-on, and drop them into your campaign. Was there just a debate, a real debate? Have that occur, and have something happen during the debate. An assassination attempt. I didn't do my lion face, lemon face. You have to understand that if you have these embers, these scorching embers that make people passionate too, you got to be really careful doing this. Because if you start putting stuff in the game, like I said, that is either thinly veiled attempts for me to learn about what you think politically, or if it becomes just a one-to-one conversion. If you're like, and then you approach the kingdom, and Flannelled Flumph and Blillery Blinton are having a blablate, then I'll know that, what? So it can also shatter immersion if you don't do a little bit of homework, and, you know, in audio, there's something called compression, and compression is the thing that sort of glues the sound together. You need to put a little compression on your political stuff that you put in the game. Glue it together, tie it to the campaign, and here's a super pro tip. Link it to someone that already exists. Looking for a candidate? It's the NPC from 2 sessions ago. It's someone from the beginning of the campaign who you thought was just an innkeeper. But guess what? He's a hometown hero. He's lovable. People want to follow him. And so what do? He starts running for office, and yeah, he gets elected. And so how do they treat that innkeeper? Did they treat him nicely? Did they treat him poorly? This factors in now that he has power and he has a political campaign going in. So, I don't know. I just think that you can take a lot of these real-world things and place them into your game and immediately have way more conflict that I think you could fill a campaign with it as a backdrop, conflict-wise. That's another thing. Have this going on, and even if your players don't touch it directly, it's affecting the world. And have it kind of going on in the background, because who gets elected, that does matter. It matters based on the taxes that you're going to have to pay as an adventurer. There you go, right there. Okay, boom, right here. One political party, and there doesn't have to just be 2, it's just easy for the sake of examples. One political party supports adventuring. Go, find me your oldest, darkest dungeon. Get the treasures. Recapture them. Bring them back into the economy of the world. And for doing that, you get to keep 10%. Another political candidate says, no, it's dangerous, it's stupid, you're waking up liches, you're releasing beholders into the world, you're poking at sleeping dragons, it's not worth it. And they secretly are putting together a task force of people who are going to do it secretly, covert ops. So now, if your adventurers want to do this, they are going against government agents who are tasked with doing the job instead of you. You're like treasure hunters, skip tracers doing it under the radar. Not to say that, imagine the conflict that happens, because if I go, and if it's ordained, if it's allowed, I go, I'm going to underreport. Yeah, we didn't find that rod of 7 parts. We found the rod of like 1.5 parts. So yeah, here's the, thanks for my 10%. And I got the rod of 7 parts in my horse's back pocket somehow. Let's see here. All right, so let's look at the chat here. Chris Jackno says, James is the teller to your pen. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's probably a good way to put it. He just keeps my dumb face grounded in reality and focused on one target at a time. Jonathan Letzer says, another thing that was done was that each of the noble families had to send their women and children to the capital, far from their fortresses, to discourage rebellion. This is fantastic. Absolutely love it. Super fantastic. Chris Wilhelm says, the best Supers game I have ever run had George W. Bush in charge when Super started coming forward in the media. Right there, especially in a modern game, sorry, I'm stretching my shoulder. In a modern game, putting a political figure in place can immediately add realism. Immediately. Chris says, it was amazing. I bet. Jeremy, man, one of these days, Soups is something that I never have done, but I've always thought that it could be really fun to mash up between Marvel and DC. Somewhere deep dark in the recesses of a Google Drive, somewhere far, far away in the bits and bytes of the internet, I have a 5th edition conversion that I started before the OGL called Super Heroic. And Super Heroic is a 5th edition conversion for creating superpowered heroes, basically. I'm a huge fan of comics. By the way, Cannibal just came out last week by Image Comics. It was solid. It's comics tend to feel short to me nowadays. I understand they're 22 to 24 pages with ads, but it's a pretty solid read. But if you're not into comics and you start reading them, you're gonna be like, wait, hold on. It's like the first act of a TV show. A lot of comics. It's like break one episode of a TV show into 3 parts, and that's usually 3 issues of a comic. So something else I've learned to do is wait for something called a trade paperback. Now, a graphic novel is different from a trade paperback in this way. A graphic novel is a standalone work created as a graphic novel that is meant to be complete on its publication. So a graphic novel is not every thick bound comic you've seen. That is a completed work, much like a novel, just illustrated in a comic fashion. It is a graphic novel. A trade paperback is a combination of usually about 6 comic book issues that are bound into one book, collecting 6 or so issues together. That's the difference. If you hear people say graphic novel or trade paperback, those are the differences. I've learned to wait for the trade paperback editions of many of my favorite comic series because it's usually like if each issue is 3, like, oh, okay, then beginning, middle, end, 1, beginning, middle, end. It's basically like having 2 really good episodes. Now, they're not all exactly like that, but I've learned that I typically wait. And, yeah, I didn't do that with Cannibal, and I was flipping through it, and I was like, it's over already? I don't want to spoil any of it, but it's sort of, it's set in modern day, and it's set in a town in Florida near the Everglades. So, check it out. It's called Cannibal. It's by Image Comics. Chris Wilhelm says, I hate how short they are. I wait for the trade paperbacks. Exactly, man. It's a bad cycle because I know that you need to buy enough of the issues so that the trade paperback gets made. See, if you don't buy enough issues of a comic up front, especially an Image comic where it's creator-owned and it's driven by sales, if not enough people go out and buy it, that's one of the reasons why I went ahead and bought it. If not enough people go out and buy that first issue of Cannibal, then issue 2 might come out, but issue 3 might not make it because they didn't have enough sales. So it's tougher with indie books to wait for the trade because they have to have sales on the individual issue side for a trade to get created. Anyway, back to RPG stuff. I love comic books. I love you all. Rob Coletta says the best thing about playing a game in the style of the comic book is having the session 0 as your super secret origins. Then all sessions, like regular comic books, is your infinite second act. I love that. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is tomorrow's Daily Damage is going to be, it's going to be superheroes. Superhero games, superheroes and RPGs, and how to, like, my thoughts on them, my thoughts about comics, and how to, if there are systems out there that do it right or wrong. So that'll be cool. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow, is superheroes or capes RPGs and stuff like that. I love talking about comics. I can talk about comics forever. Literally. Go! Anyway, I think I'm going to call it here. This was a great discussion. I love all of you. Like I said, if you are watching this and you're on Facebook, be sure to like us if you stumbled upon us, and you'll make sure that these Daily Damage feeds show up as my fat face is talking right on your wall there. But if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, which I think is going to end up over here. I don't know how this works. Let's flip around. Maybe it'll be over here. But subscribe, and you'll see probably one of these a day. I tend to upload them the following morning, and they post around 8 a.m. But let's see here. Graphic novels are the only comic type things that I read. The Crow is my favorite, but I like Alan Moore stuff as well. Oh, and the first few arcs of Berserk are awesome. That's what Chris Jackno says. I agree, man. It's not all that I read, but I can see why. You're all wonderful. Be sure said to hug one another. I don't know why. I felt like Bob Hope signing off. Stephen Pack just joined. Oh, man, we're signing off, dude. I'm sorry. I missed you. I just feel bad signing off with 14 people there. Is there anything else you want to talk about? 15 people. See, it keeps going up. 16 people. I can't. 17 people. What happened? Oh, man. So, what do you guys want to talk about? Because if you don't have anything to talk about, I'll tell you that right now, we're still sort of figuring out the plot of the webcomic Roll to Stabilize. I think I'm going to post these. I made the cartoon versions of Barker, Nate, Cassie, James, myself, and Matt Click. And I think they came out pretty well. I think it was actually pretty great. But they're not professional. They're just like great for me. Like, oh wow, these aren't awful. This is the convoluted place where I'm at in the plot right now. All right, here's what happens. Because I don't want it to be a direct correlation of our real lives. I think that that's important. I think it has to be sort of far removed. So here's the idea. I'm still Tim, right? My name's Tim. I'm thinking about changing all our last names, but anyway. So I'm Tim Smith, whatever, say. And my job, my actual profession is I house sit people's houses who have died because their kin hires me so that no greedy relatives or anyone else comes and steals all the stuff before the estate sale. That's my job, is I sit in these houses and I basically squat in dead people's houses so that other people don't come and take the stuff. Greedy kids, greedy nephews, cousins, they know they're dead so that they don't come and pilfer it. So that's what I do. And I make like decent money and I stay in these nice houses so that nobody comes and steals everything. Well, of course, my brothers show up. And I'm like, guys, you can't be here. Maybe Matt, Click, and Barker show up. Like, I was thinking it'd be funny if all of them kind of show up for different reasons. Like, Barker's like, hey, man, I was coming here because I know that I need a place to run my game, and they're working on my duck control at the house. I got too many ducks. Something crazy. And then Matt's like, hey, man, I just needed a quiet place. I got to finish working on, Stone Rift, whatever. The point is, I'm like, no, guys, no. We can't do this. You can't do this. And the phone rings, and I don't know why, but in my imagination, my brother Matt Carney answers it. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah. Give us 30 days. Okay. So it turns out that this house is it's the house of a prolific hermit RPG designer named Parnham Wembley. And the idea is that this guy he's a recluse. He went into hiding, but he died. And so his house is full of these like crazy relics, like RPG books from way back and all this other stuff. But the catch is, my brother Matt answers the phone and basically says, yeah, he was an RPG publisher. So my brother Matt answers the phone and he says, yeah, we can put out a book in 30 days. Because the offer is for this big company to basically pay us like 20 grand to put out a book in 30 days. And we're like, what are you doing? He's like, how hard can it be? Don't you guys write? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess we kind of can. But then you find out that as you go through the house, there's crazy, actual, real creatures there. So, like, you know, you go through and you're like, whoa, hey, man. And you kind of make it so that there are these inhabitants of this house. So that's it. We inherit this house, this bunch of relics. There's these monsters there. And we're trying to write an RPG supplement in 30 days. But we've never done it before. And we're trying to figure it out. And that's the kind of basic plot. That's episode 1. That's the pilot, I think. And just the hilarity that ensues as we try to juggle our real work lives with writing this book, with the crazy mysticism of the house, and the real family, who there's no local next of kin, but someone's flying in from Germany. Stuff like that. I don't know. That's the crazy thoughts. What do you guys think about that so far? Microgravity in RPGs. This is Jonathan Letzer. Rob Coletta says, talk about the Durgan text for Stone Rift. Let's hear about the Stone Rifts, says Chris Wilhelm. Burn Knightley says, talk to us about your collab with Hankrin. Oh, okay. Those are 2 really good things I should talk about instead of the stupid webcomic. I will talk about both of those things in a second. Locrius nailed it. It should be his oath. Oh, Durgan's oath! Oh, that's perfect! Oh, man. Locrius. That's perfect. I might... Do I say Tritherian's name in that? Because I can't in the book. If you don't want to play it. Copyright. Dude, that's perfect. Oh, man, I want to kiss your glasses. Those shiny glasses leave a greasy lip smear. That was weird to say on a stream. Jonathan Letzer says, I also enjoy hearing about what you can tell us about Stone Rift. Dude, everybody wants to hear about Stone Rift, and I didn't check the chat, and my fat face talked about Parnham Wimbley and living in a... Oh. Stephen Back says, I wanted to hear about Trump and Hillary. You'll have to go back and rewatch. I talked about him for like 30 minutes. Kinda. Circo says, sounds like an acid trip. Well, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it plays a little better. Chris says, this sounds like Mordenkainen's mansion. Exactly. Like if Mordenkainen... Okay, here's the idea. This is the concept. And then I'll talk about Stone Rift and Drunkens and Dragons. It'd be like if you went to Mordenkainen's house, but he had left the Forgotten Realms and was writing RPG books in the real world and just documenting what was happening in the Forgotten Realms. And then we stumble upon it so that there's kind of like a lot of back and forth, but it's humorous, like Curb Your Enthusiasm or Parks and Recreation meets that. So, yeah, that's great. Steven Back says, sounds hilarious. Thanks, man. So, all right, let's talk about Stone Rift. I'll talk about this very briefly. Stone Rift is going to be friggin' amazing. I've been helping Matt edit it for a while, and every time I read it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. Because even if you don't know a thing about Aeronaut, what this is, it is a turnkey solution to drop incredible dwarves right into your campaign world. You want to learn more about Aeronaut? Go to absolutetabletop.com and click on a fistful of dice up in the top bar there. And there's several Aeronaut books, but the most important thing you need to know is that Stone Rift is a must-have book to put dwarves into your campaign world. Period. End of story. No question asked. There's no questions asked. I have marbles in my mouth today. Lion face. Ah, lemon face. Ah, see, I can't. There are new deities that aren't boring and you need to learn a whole bunch of, like, terrible history about it. Just these really dense, awesome ways to put some dwarven deities into your story. There are, like, 14 different clans. So if you think Durgan Blood Mountain would be kind of cool, like, oh, what's the Blood Mountain clan? You can look that up. But there are also 13 others. And what we did, this was Matt's idea, this is brilliant. We made trinkets for each one of the clans. So if you like when you're making characters to roll up a trinket, there's a table with, I think we're going for, we might go 100, but there's at least 50. There's at least 50 of these trinkets, and it shows in one of the boxes what clan would most likely have this. And so it's kind of cool, too, because we fleshed out, like, Balrock Hornhelm, like his clan, the Hornhelm clan, and how basically in the lower depths, kind of the slums, they just happened to get a plot of land that had Mithril on it. That pronunciation is trademarked by the J.R.R. Tolkien estate. So, Mithril. And so they just kind of got rich around their poor neighbors, and a lot of the people have not liked them because of that since. So it's just really, really cool. So one of the things is that there's a section in the book where Durgan Blood Mountain is going to have a quote, and I think, well, what I wanted to do was talk to you, wonderful viewers, and say, pick your favorite quote from Durgan Blood Mountain from the Provokers, and we'll slap that in the book. And so Locrius's idea was to use Durgan's vow, like his oath that he says as he's essentially his, I don't want to say his vow of retribution, but I guess that's kind of what it is. And yeah, that might be a really good idea. So Stone Rift will be out. I mean, it's one of those things. Listen, we're working on it until it's finished. It'll be out soon, soonish. But we're really giving it the time that it deserves. We're getting as much art as we can commissioned. We know we've listened. People have said, like, hey, listen, we love your books, but, sometimes the art consistency isn't there. I promise you that the consistency of the art in this book is going to be the best absolute tabletop book that's been released. And I can say that with a guarantee because I've seen the art. It is polished, and I think it's going to be the best looking supplement. It's also going to include the new page redesign we've done where the text is a little more legible. Everything's a little smaller, a little more refined. So it's looking fantastic. I can't wait. I can't wait to dig into it tonight. We've been just, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this yet. I'm going to tell you guys something, okay? It could have already been announced. But, and Chris Wilhelm, I'm not writing checks. This is something we already talked about, and we're like part of the way through. What's the best way to start using a supplement? What's the best way to say, oh, hey, this is cool. This is a cool book about dwarves. What do I do with it? Matt Click had the brilliant idea, and it's dawning on me now that all of you already know about this because it was in the kickoff video, and I'm stupider than I realized. It's a little adventure in the back of the book that uses stuff from the modules. Nope, not the modules. The supplement in the module. It's a mini adventure. It's got like 5 little encounters like that kind of lead up or so, and it's like, I don't want to spoil anything, but it takes some of the monsters from the book, some of the things, like some of the encounters and challenges, things from the lore itself, and then it plugs it in, and we're partnering with Heroic Maps. Some amazing people. Go check out Heroic Maps as well on Drive-Thru-RPG. They have incredible battle mats. I'd venture to say, and it's not just because we're partnered with them, they're my favorite. They're my favorite. I think they look the best. They look the least, like, CG shiny. And they look detailed enough, but not in that uncanny valley to me. So, but anyway, there's going to be a little adventure. So when you buy your copy of Stone Rift, you can flip it through, boom, go to the back, and you can run it for your players. And so I just think that that's super cool. So, who watches, raise your hand if you watch Drunkens and Dragons videos. My hand is up. Hankering for an ale. This dude is cut from a different cloth in the best way. Like, it's cool to see all the different game masters and their different styles and sort of how they've developed. I liken it a lot to bands and like guitar players and things like that. Like, it's like, we're all playing with the same sort of set of musical scales and stuff like that, but genuinely, everyone does something a little different, and our styles and the way that you phrase the music and all that stuff. So, Drunkens and Dragons is one of those channels that was out there for a while, and I didn't know about it, and then I asked people, hey, what channel should I watch? And several of you were like, you got to watch this channel. So, this is the great time to announce at the end of this video, where it probably will be brought up again, but we're doing something called Channel Invasion. We are going to do a Drunkens and Dragons Room of Moloch. And he is going to do an absolute, he's going to do a Tabletop Terrors Splat Book Roulette. Where I'm not going to spoil it, but he's going to do a super cool Splat Book Roulette. So, we're going to flip channels. We're going to do a Channel Invasion. I've also talked to Matt at A Fistful of Dice, and he's interested. Rob from Performance Check, Mike from Mike the Piper, Barker from Be a Better Game Master. So if you have a YouTube channel, and then I've probably talked to you about this. But genuinely, so Drunken the Dragons has already filmed this video. We have the Hurricane, but we're going to be filming our version of a Drunkens and Dragons Room Room of Moloch. But Hankering for Nail, super rad dude, super friendly, and I love the way he thinks about the game. I'm watching his videos and I'm like, yep, stealing that. That's brilliant. Oh, that's good. So check out Drunkens and Dragons as well. So, yeah. Stephen Bax has never heard of him. Have to check it out. Chris Wilhelm says, mine's up. Let's see. Spencer Shield joins. Chris Jackno says, there's a module about exactly what we're... Mordenkainen's is actually a film studio. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. He says the module's called Castle Greyhawk, I think. Chris, yours is up what? Is it a new free venture? Aaron Knight says, the adventure in the back of a supplement is a great idea. Give people some new stuff and show how it can be used. Love it. Yeah, we actually got the idea from the Star Wars books by Fantasy Flight. In their core rule books, usually at the end, there's a couple of little like, hey, here's some stuff to use the rules. It makes perfect sense because it gives you an actionable thing you can immediately apply using the lore you're holding. So it just makes perfect sense. Burn Knightley says, give me this boon. I wonder if you're thinking that was supposed to be a K. Give me this boon! Or should have been a book. Give me this book. Oh, gotcha. I said, whose hand is up? And Chris said, mine is. I'm sorry. There's a delay, so I try to catch up, but my brain is got a longer delay than this stream does. Spencer Shield says, right at the end. Sad face. Oh, I'm sorry, man. It always happens. But, listen, I want to end it on a high note. I know there's 20 people watching. I love you all. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to talk about superhero books. I'm going to talk a little more about Channel Invasion. I'm going to harass everybody I talk to. I'd like to get the videos up by, end of November. But what it is just, I'll do I'll contact them. James and I will do a video for their channel. They'll do a video for our channel where we swap segments. I think it's going to be hilarious and a blast. Anyway, you're the best. Be sure to have a great rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow. And until next time, may your dice roll high.